32 large wildfires are burning across Oregon right now, and the picture has changed dramatically in less than a week. On Friday, roughly 500,000 acres were alight. That figure has since passed 1.5 million. At least 34 homes have been lost. More than 6,000 people are under orders to leave immediately, and another 26,000 have been told to be ready to go at short notice. 12,200 firefighters are working in Oregon alone. If you live anywhere in Central or Eastern Oregon, this report is meant to help you work out where the fire is, what has closed, and what you should be doing. Let us start with the community that has been hit hardest. 4 miles south of Warm Springs, the bench fire grew by more than 20,000 acres in a single day. It has now passed 40,000 acres and remains at zero containment. On Saturday night, the fire moved toward the town and crossed the Deschutes River. The whole community of Warm Springs was placed under a Level 3 order, and thousands left that evening with very little warning. Shelters opened in Madras, including a separate site for livestock. 11 homes have been lost, along with 5 other buildings. Crews are reporting 3 active fronts, all moving toward inhabited ground, though fire managers say most of the homes in the path were successfully defended. Crews are working the Campbell and Willow Creek drainages and trying to hold Highway 26 and Highway 25 as containment lines. Recent movement has been south and west toward populated land on both banks of the river. Nearly 500 people are assigned, and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs are running their own operation alongside the state and federal crews. The fire began with a lightning strike and smoldered quietly for days before the wind picked up and it took off. Because evacuation levels are being mentioned constantly right now, it is worth being clear about what they actually mean, since the difference matters a great deal. Level 1 means be ready. There is a fire in your area and you should be aware of it. This is the moment to gather documents, medication, and a few days of clothing, and put them somewhere you can grab quickly. Level 2 means be set. There is significant danger and you should be ready to leave at a moment's notice. If you have animals or anyone who needs extra time to move, this is the point to go early rather than wait. Nobody will think less of you for leaving at Level 2. Level 3 means go now. Leave immediately, do not stop to gather belongings, and do not wait to see whether conditions improve. Fire officials are blunt about this for a reason, because a Level 3 order often means there will not be time for a second warning. Levels are changing faster than they can be reported. Over the weekend, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office described writing a public notice and watching the levels change twice before they had finished typing it. Please check your county's official channels rather than relying on what you heard yesterday. A word on the national picture, because it explains why help has been slow to reach some places. The country is at preparedness level 5, the top of the scale. Of the 25,000 firefighters committed nationally, more than 60% are working here in the Pacific Northwest. Support is now arriving from overseas, with a management team and 59 fire line personnel from Australia and New Zealand. Here are the major fires in Oregon, starting with the largest. First, Big Grass, the biggest in the state, 25 miles southwest of Jordan Valley. It has passed 300,000 acres and is only 5% contained. Only 135 people are assigned to it, which tells you how thinly resources are stretched. Second, the Roe Creek complex, which changed shape overnight. An infrared flight found that the Crosswhite, Brewer, and Green Mountain fires had merged into a single footprint. So the acreage jumped and the containment percentage fell. It has passed 290,000 acres and is roughly a third contained. Third, the Hay Creek complex, 5 miles west of Condon, at 186,000 acres and more than 90% contained. Crews there are mopping up along the edge, and 11 structures were lost before they got it under control. Fourth, Coleman Creek, east of Juntura, which has passed 140,000 acres, gained 10,000 in a day, and was still at zero containment at last report. Numerous structures are threatened, with only about 114 people assigned. Fifth, Second Flat, northeast of Riley, passed 86,000 acres at 5%. Sixth, Shingle, southeast of Mitchell, passed 60,000 acres at 6%. Seventh, Fox, northeast of Huntington, which recorded the largest single day of growth anywhere in the state, more than 21,000 acres in 24 hours. It has passed 47,000 acres, remains at zero containment, and 8 structures have already burned. After those come had at 40% contained, Bald Mountain passed 32,000 acres at 1%, and Henry at 40%. There is better news at Akawa Butte, northeast of Sisters, at 27,300 acres and 6% containment. Over a full day, it grew only 86 acres, and last week this fire was running toward a neighborhood on the northern edge of Sisters. More than 1,600 people are working it with infrared equipment. The Deschutes County Sheriff has lowered several evacuation levels around Sisters. Power is still out in places and the roadblocks have moved, so drive carefully near the lines. Hagen, east of Pendleton, has passed 26,000 acres at zero containment, with homes and energy infrastructure threatened. Grasshopper is the newest concern. It has passed 15,000 acres, is still at zero containment, and gained 5,500 in a single day, 13 miles west of Wamick in the Mount Hood National Forest. Evacuations run from level 1 to level 3 around Tye Valley, west of Maupin. Below those, another dozen fires remain open, most of them well along. Powder River is at 84% containment and Anthony at 89%. But 4 smaller fires are still at zero containment with very few people assigned. Burnt Creek, Castle, Bob Creek near Oxbow, and Paradise east of Milton Freewater. Some things have gone right, and they are worth saying out loud. The 10-mile fire northeast of Madras is fully contained. 3 level 3 zones around the Coyote and Henry fires have been downgraded to level 2, so those households can go home and stay ready rather than stay away. Interstate 84 has reopened fully between Baker City and Ontario. One caution on Coyote and Henry, though. Crews there are reporting dust devils up to 150 feet tall, and those can lift burning material and carry it beyond the containment line. If you are back in that area, keep an eye on your own property. The smoke is now a serious health issue across much of Oregon, and this is the part that affects the most people. State environmental regulators have an air quality advisory in force until further notice for 13 counties: Baker, Crook, Gilliam, Grant, Harney, Jefferson, Malheur, Morrow, Umatilla, Union, Wallowa, Wasco, and Wheeler. Intermittent smoke is also possible in Deschutes, Eastern Douglas, Hood River, Northern Jackson, Northern Klamath, Lake, and Sherman counties. The harmful part of wildfire smoke is very fine particulate matter, small enough to travel deep into the lungs and pass into the bloodstream. On the air quality index, anything above 100 is unhealthy for sensitive groups, above 150 is unhealthy for everyone, and above 200 is very unhealthy. Central Oregon has been in the red and purple bands for days. The advice from health officials is worth following. Stay indoors where you can and keep windows and doors closed. If it is too hot for that, run air conditioning on recirculate. Avoid strenuous outdoor activity because heavy breathing pulls far more smoke into your lungs. If you have an air filter, run it where you sleep. Children, older adults, pregnant women, and anyone with asthma, heart, or lung conditions are at real risk here, not theoretical risk. If that describes you or someone in your household, follow your doctor's advice and do not wait until symptoms are bad before acting. You can check current conditions for your own address on the Oregon Air Quality Index website, on OregonSmoke.org, or on the National Fire and Smoke Map. And readings can change within hours as the plumes shift. A number of places are closed. The National Park Service has shut the Clarno and Painted Hills units of the John Day fossil beds, and both banks of the John Day River are closed from Service Creek north to the Columbia. Around Sisters, the Black Butte Trail and 3 campgrounds are shut. If you are traveling in the affected area, check road conditions before you leave rather than on the way, because closures are changing by the hour. Evacuation maps are published live through the Raptor system, and Central Oregon agencies run a text alert service. If you want to help the families who have lost homes, money is more useful than goods. Truckloads of donated supplies, however well meant, take up the same roads the fire crews need. Now the weather, because everything in this report depends on it, and because the next few days decide whether these fires grow or settle. Fire behavior is driven by 4 things: how dry the air is, how hard the wind blows, how unstable the atmosphere is, and how dry the vegetation has become. Oregon currently has all 4 working against it. Start with humidity, because it matters more than temperature does. Afternoon relative humidity in the fire zones has been dropping to between 15 and 25%. Overnight, it recovers, sometimes as high as 80%, and that window is when crews do their most productive work. When humidity stops recovering at night, fires burn around the clock. Wind is the second factor. Westerly winds have been running up to around 30 miles an hour in the afternoons, gusting higher through the Cascade Gaps. And red flag warnings have covered most of the region east of the Cascades. Winds should ease through the week, but a weakening cold front is due late in the week, and fronts bring wind shifts. A shift is more dangerous than strong, steady wind because it turns the long flank of a fire into a new head, and the flank is where crews are standing. The third factor is instability in the atmosphere, and here the picture is honestly uncertain. Some forecasts show no thunderstorms across central and eastern Oregon for the next 4 to 5 days. Others flag another dry lightning system arriving toward the weekend. Nobody should tell you they know which of those will happen. What is certain is that lightning does not always start a fire straight away. A strike can smolder inside a tree or underground for days before anything shows on the surface. Those are holdover fires, and they emerge later when temperatures climb or the wind picks up. Several of the fires in this report began that way. One more thing worth understanding, because it happened near sisters. A fire large enough makes its own weather. Intense heat forms a pyrocumulus cloud, and when that cloud grows big enough, it produces its own wind and its own lightning. That is a fire starting new fires around itself. The fourth factor is the fuel, and it will not change quickly. No meaningful rain is forecast anywhere in the Northwest this week, and the vegetation has been drying since spring. State forestry officials describe conditions where a single ember is enough to start the next major fire. So observe the burn restrictions. Chainsaws, vehicles parked on dry grass, and loose trailer chains have all started fires in conditions like these. The smoke is no longer only an Oregon problem either. Plumes from the central and eastern part of the state are drifting east and northeast and are being tracked well across the country. What would end this is a change of pattern, a Pacific system bringing cooler air and real rain into the fire zones. That is not in the forecast. Until it arrives, every day has the same shape. Humidity crashes in the afternoon, the wind picks up, and the crews hold what they can. There is one last thing worth saying. Behind every acreage figure in this report is somebody's ranch, somebody's home, somebody's town. More than 6,000 people are sleeping somewhere other than their own bed, and some of them do not yet know whether they still have a house to go back to. Whole communities have moved at a few hours' notice. If you are in one of these counties, please take the advisories seriously, even if the sky looks better today. Keep your phone charged and your fuel tank full. And check on your neighbors, particularly older people and anyone living alone, because they are often the last to hear that a level has changed. If you are watching from somewhere safe, spare a thought for the 12,000 people working in that smoke and for the crews who have traveled from as far as Australia and New Zealand to help. Warm Springs is still under a level 3 order. Take care of yourselves out there, look after each other, and stay safe.